Welcome to Prague, the city of 100 spires, the rooftop of Europe, the mother of all cities. The Czech capital has acquired numerous such nicknames over the centuries, and it had been on my travel list for a long time. Good coincidence that the filmmakers behind the James Bond franchise decided to use parts of it for Casino Royale, the first, and in my opinion, the best of the Daniel Craig Bond films. Once you arrive and reach the city centre, you're immediately thrown into a buzzing crowd of tourists exploring the city that dates back to the 9th century. The old town square is a very good starting point for your walking tours. And you really should take the time to take everything in, and never refrain from exploring the tiniest of streets, no matter how insignificant they may look. Your next exquisite snapshot is always just around the corner. Crossing over to the other side, into the Malá Strana district, you're on your way to the first filming location of Casino Royale, Strahov Monastery. Walking upward through the steep cobblestone roads in the morning, you gradually leave the large crowds of tourists behind and can find time to breathe in the history of this beautiful city. Sometimes you may even find yourself quite alone in a city that welcomes 6 to 8 million visitors a year. The Premonstratensian Strahov Monastery was founded in 1140, and the complex houses the Church of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary, the rare Strahov Library with a number of medieval manuscripts, maps and globes, the Baroque Theological Hall, the Classical Philosophy Hall decorated with frescoes, and the Strahov Gallery, one of the most significant Central European collections of Gothic painting, Rudolfian art, and Baroque and Rococo paintings. Strahov Library is of course what we're after, so here it is in all its splendour. You can't actually go inside, as a delicate room temperature must be kept at all times in order to preserve the historic books and papers. For Casino Royale, the monastery made an exception and let Dame Judi Dench and Tobias Menzies, in their roles as M and her assistant, stroll through this magnificent room.
They don't care what we do, they care what we get photographed doing. And how the hell could Bond be so stupid? I give him 00 status and he celebrates by shooting up an embassy. Is the man deranged? And where the hell is he? In the old days, if an agent did something that embarrassing, he'd have the good sense to defect. Christ, I miss the Cold War.
It is a small scene and cleverly edited, since only the close-up of the two was actually filmed inside the library. The weather was really bad when I left the monastery. In fact, it was thundering like crazy. Luckily, I found the very charming and cute Kosmai Cafe in nearby Pohozelec Street, where I could comfortably spend an hour as I waited for the storm to pass. Making my way down towards the embankment, my next destination was the Ministry of Transport in Klimenska Street. It's a bit of a walk that will take you some 45 to 60 minutes, depending on your speed, of course. The side of the building facing the river is where you need to go to find the exterior that doubled for the Body Worlds exhibition building in Miami. When you continue walking alongside the embankment, you will already see the next location in the distance. Danube House, with its sharp design, will practically lure you towards it. Completed in 2003, Danube House is part of the impressive large-scale River City Prague urban development project and offers over 21,000 square meters of space for tenants. It is the first scene and location you see in Casino Royale, when MI6 agent Dryden goes up to his office, not knowing the danger he is in. Filming in the dark and adding the atmospheric black and white to the beginning of the film did make this industrial-looking complex fit really well into the film. Making my way back towards the city centre through the labyrinth of streets where not many tourists go, I stopped at yet another small but charmingly quiet cafe. Kavarna in Cozy Street. They make a fantastic drink of espresso, orange juice and caramel syrup, appropriately called Bumblebee. I loved it. It felt like cafe hopping, as my next marker on the map was the Bond Cafe. Yes, you heard that all right. Prague has a Bond Cafe. Wonderfully decorated with pictures of our favorite stars, this is the place for fans to sit down for a coffee. During my visit, I was told that a second Bond Cafe will open soon in the city centre, close to the river. Before you leave, don't forget to pick up a badge from the jar on the counter. I got mine for sure. Having had my fair share of coffee for the day, I walked 2 kilometers back to Wenceslas Square and the final location on my list, the iconic National Museum. I was really looking forward to seeing the majestic grand staircase that served as the Venice Hotel where Bond and Vesper stayed in Casino Royale. You have to buy a ticket for the whole museum. There is no other way to see the staircase. But let me tell you, it was worth it. Walking up those stairs and looking at them from the first and second floor is something you'll never forget. For many people, this is just a wonderful looking staircase. But to us fans, it's almost eye-watering to admire it as an accessible filming location. The exhibitions in the museum are among the best I have ever seen in my life. Such attention to detail and interactivity. It's simply a joy to wander through the individual halls and be taken to historic periods and through the evolution of the animal kingdom and indeed our whole world. I really recommend a visit to everyone. You will need around 2 to 3 hours if you're a really thorough reader. Combining city travel with location visiting is fantastically easy in Prague, and you quickly begin to realize why so many films are made there. It's just a pure gem with countless spots to film in. But James Bond was not the only agent operating in Prague over time. Rewind to 1996 and the very first film of the Mission Impossible franchise starring Tom Cruise. When you find yourself wandering through Prague, you can find the filming locations with ease, as they are all very close together. 6.5 minutes into the film, the camera pans down into Platnešská Street, located right next to the Four Seasons Hotel, where Jim Phelps walks towards the safe house to meet his team. Following the 2022 flood, the street had to be altered and doesn't look like in the film anymore. But going into this small street will reward you with a beautiful view over the river towards the old town on the other side, with Prague Castle towering majestically over it. A restaurant tip from me is the Marina Ristorante, which is just up ahead if you continue to stroll along the river to Mani Suf Bridge. The restaurant is on a boat and combines fine dining with magnificent views. I had a lovely time there and experienced fantastic food and service, so try it out. Once you're satisfied from a nice lunch or dinner, make your way over to the other side of the river and continue to walk along it towards Camper Park. Some great opportunities for photos here, especially of the famous Charles Bridge that you reached within 5 minutes. Your destination is Liechtenstein Palace, which served as the US Embassy for the film, but merely on the board for the mission briefing. The interior scenes were, like Casino Royale, filmed at the National Museum's staircase. Where else? It is so gorgeous to look at. Another restaurant tip from me is Camper Park Restaurant, a luxury fine dining experience overlooking Charles Bridge and the Vladva River. Book your table in advance as it can get full in the summer, especially the terrace area. But you'll be treated like royalty here, with impeccable service and exquisite dishes, wines and champagnes. I recommend a glass of Tête d'Angers champagne followed by the honey-glazed duck breast. Oh, what a joy. Simply divine. Continuing your walk alongside the embankment, you will find 2 locations of Mission Impossible. The first one is a rather inconspicuous wooden gate that most people walk by. It was here where Alexander Golitsyn and IMF team member Sarah get stabbed. Walking on to Liechtenstein Palace, you'll find the exit gate where Ethan and Sarah leave the embassy and remain there when the mission suddenly goes sideways.
Jack?
Man down, Ethan.
Man down.
Turn right after walking past the gate, and you will end up on Campa na Mieście, a small square with steps leading up to Charles Bridge. These are the same steps that Ethan Hunt went up in the film. From the top, you're looking at the square below, where this explosive scene happened. Crossing over the lovely and world-famous Charles Bridge, you're walking on the filming location where Jim Phelps gets shot. Although you won't find it to be anywhere near as mysterious and atmospheric as in the film. Most of the day it will be jam-packed with tourists. Try it early in the morning or late in the evening. That's where your chances for great photos improve slightly.
Abort. Repeat, abort.
When you make your way to Staromiejskie na Mieście, the old town square with the astronomical clock, find the Jan Hus monument to the left and look at it from the small park on the left. Recognize it? Let me help you out. Although the restaurant scene and explosion were filmed at Pinewood Studios, the film crew was allowed to release a 10,000-litre tank of water onto the old town square for Tom Cruise to run through. The final location of the first Mission Impossible film that I scouted can be found in Na Przykopie Street. You can reach it easily when walking through the small streets from the old town square. Niekazanka Street will catch your eye with 2 distinct arches. Looks familiar? This is where Ethan Hunt meets the mysterious lighter man. portrayed by none other than Andreas Wisniewski, who we all know as Necros from The Living Daylights. A little later, when his character steps out on the balcony during Ethan's meeting with Max, he's at Prashna Brana, the 15th century city gate that is easy to spot. The building connecting to it via an arch is where you can see the balcony. Mission Impossible returned to Prague for the fourth film of this series, Ghost Protocol. I've only visited 3 filming locations, but the first one is arguably the most stunning. And you need to walk the steep streets up to it. To double for the Kremlin in Moscow, the film team shot in the famous Pražský Hrad, Prague Castle. In real life, it's the residence and office of the Czech president and the largest continuous castle complex in the world, covering an area of almost 70,000 square meters. And it is also on the UNESCO World Cultural and Natural Heritage List. Getting up there can be a small challenge for the average tourist, as the century-old streets are steep. If you need a short break, stop for some coffee at number 211 Cafe in Nerudova Street. It's right opposite the Romanian embassy, if you want to sit down and feel like a spy. Having reached the top and stepping into the first courtyard of Prague Castle, you're standing in the filming location where Ethan and Benji enter the Kremlin in disguise.
Love your disguise, by the way. You look just like him. I'm tense. I babble when I'm nervous. I'm doing it again. Shut up, Benji.
It is a fantastic place to explore, and you should take the time to see the entire complex. It is crowded at times, but a very rewarding experience. My tip, be in front of the castle at 12 noon, as this is the time when the changing of the guard happens. It's a nice 15-minute ceremony performed every day. Finally, Ghost Protocol was also shot in Prague's central train station, doubling for Budapest, where IMF agent Trevor Hanaway is killed by assassin Sabine Moreau, portrayed by none other than Lea Seydoux. During his mission, Hanaway passes through the historic part of the railway station that not many tourists visit on purpose, so you have good photo opportunities here.
But we weren't the only ones after it.
Bobcat, someone else has crashed this party. I'm not alone.
Prague offers something for everyone. It is a city with so many facets and surprises around every corner. From the first moment, the city will charm you with its beauty, amaze you with its long and eventful history, and the level of service and friendliness towards people of every nation is really exceptional. So, what are you waiting for?